Oh my.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening,
All of
whatever
the
it
above.
may be. Yeah, wherever you
It's
might
been a
be.
while.
Yeah, it's
It's
been
been
a
a
little
while.
while. So we were just having a good laugh about cocaine. Um, so there's a group of comedians out in Australia called Auntie Donna, and they had a whole series a while back, and it was about working in the '90s. So like big, like double-breasted suits with all the buttons, and those like really ugly, like purpley ties and all that sort of stuff, and just what it was like to work in an office in the '90s. And they had one called "Haven't You Done Well," where they're all like they basically are doing cocaine after they won a big deal for like 8 minutes in this video. It's pretty funny. And then I'll give it away. Spoiler alert. I feel like nobody's really gonna be that upset. The one of the people from the cafeteria comes in and she says, what have you boys done with all of my powdered sugar? So um, similar like
The
we were talking about.
yeah, the background is fall's here. Allergies are happening. My nose is just itchy. So I was joking about like, will people wonder things like, is Shannon doing cocaine on live on the air? I'm not. I just suffer from really bad fall allergies, and I'm always excited when the first freeze happens. So I am that person that loves the first freeze. I don't like winter per se. I mean, I don't mind it. I'll deal with it. It's not my favorite. I hate shoveling,
The
but
first freeze.
yeah, it's the first freeze. So when that happens in the Chicagoland area, I usually am ecstatic, and my allergies get a break finally. So anyway,
So when is
that's
it,
not
when
why
is
we're
the
here.
first freeze in Chicago?
It sometimes happens as early as October, but I'd say by like November, December, we get a first freeze. And that's always
Yeah.
one of those things where I wake up and I'm just like, thank God, all of those awful plants that like to just bloom like crazy right now. Like ragweed is the one I'm very allergic to. So,
All
and
right.
it's like it's awful. Like every time I've ever done an allergy test, it's always like bubbling over. It looks like like a volcano eruption when they do the scratch test. So
Oh yeah.
it's that time of year. It's not my favorite. If there's anybody out there that struggles, I feel ya. This is an awful time. So,
Well,
we're looking forward to it.
tree and grass are my bad ones. But now we've moved. I don't know if they have the same trees and grass here. I mean, because
Oh yeah, that's true.
maybe
That's
it'll be
true.
different. So because I haven't been, I haven't felt too bad. I haven't had fall allergies yet. Now I say that, but who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Now that we've moved. So like it's
Yeah,
kind of
and that's and
interesting.
that's some of the reason why we haven't been streaming. JP moved from South Carolina to Michigan. I just got back from leave, so I adopted a son earlier in the year, and I took the rest of my leave. So we're back. You're probably gonna get sick of us, right? That's what it's gonna turn into, right? We're gonna we're gonna stream so much that people are gonna be like, oh my god, will they stop streaming?
I mean, I love that it was. I love that you said are going to get sick of us,
Yeah.
as if it hasn't happened already. But that's okay. So it's okay. I'm gonna turn on a little bit of music just so there's a little bit of ambiance.
You know what's
Um,
funny? As I was like, who is Chill Hop? I've never been in one of these streams when you start building things. So I'm like, what's going on? Did we just get hacked?
so so we moved to Michigan, which is nice. It's close to my wife's family, and like they're right down the road, so we see them, and we've already been hanging out. And like it was my littlest one's birthday today. I think it's crazy. So my kids go to school at 8:45 here, right?
Ooh, that's kind of late.
Um, yeah, it's awesome. But here's the thing: they get out of school at 3:45, which means they don't get home till after 4. Or it's like basically the entire workday they're not here, and then when they get here, the workday's over. It's like this works out really well because you just peace when they get here. Um, but it's been
Nice.
nice. Like the only thing is the internet.
Yeah, we were
So
talking about that yesterday because I just finally figured out my issues with Xfinity. They finally had to replace the cable line running into the house from the box in our alley, and everything's been working better. So I might actually cancel my T-Mobile home internet backup because if this is reliable and stable, and it should be,
so it's funny that you call it your backup because T-Mobile home
it's your
internet is my
primary.
primary. It's literally the only thing we can get up here. Now I could get Frontier DSL, and I think
Has
It's at
DSL finally
Frontier.
upgraded? Or are
Well,
you still kind of like
no.
limited on what you can download and upload, like the actual bandwidth?
So I called them and I said, hey, like at this address, like, what's available? Because everybody was like, what address? Sorry, it's not in our database kind of thing. And
Are you in like an unincorporated part of Michigan?
No, we're just in a township. I mean, I'm 50 minutes from Detroit downtown. Like, it's not
okay.
But we're not that remote, but apparently this specific spot is. So anyway, so we get this DSL thing. And I called the people, and they were like, yeah, like, we can get you signed up for DSL. Like, you can get into your address, or we can get you signed up for internet at your address, is what they said. And I was like, cool, like, is it DSL? Is it cable? Is it, what is it? And they were like, yeah, we don't know until the tech gets out there. I'm like, okay, so, like, what kind of speeds are we talking about? And he was like, oh, we can't make any commitments until the tech comes out. I'm like, well, you're asking me to sign a 2-year contract before the tech will come out. So, like, I don't think this is going to work out. And Starlink might work, Bolt. The only thing about Starlink is the latency is still higher than cellular, which of course is still
interesting
itself higher than wireline. Also, we didn't. If we were going to get Starlink, we were too far behind, I guess. So we're already like in a waiting list thing. There's that too. Oh, what? You mean Twitter?
But that's when we need your Elgato. What is it? You need to get that situated so we can make some sound effects.
So the problem with the Stream Deck is the Stream Deck software is x86 only.
What?
And I have an ARM computer, so they don't make an ARM version of it, and I am not installing Rosetta. So I'm gonna have to figure out an alternative. To get my little key lights to work, there's like a PowerShell script that you could run because it's just a little thing. So I'm gonna have to find some kind of like soft soundboard or something. I don't know. But so it's interesting about this internet thing. So we have T-Mobile home internet, which is literally $30 a month. It's dirt cheap. And we get. I mean, it's pretty serviceable. Like here, I'm gonna kill the stream by showing you my screen. We're gonna really find the outer limits of T-Mobile home internet today. So here, let me zoom this in a little bit, right? So let's do a speed test, and we'll do what is it? Oops, this is PowerShell. No, I want to be in PowerShell. Let's clear the screen. So let's do speed test with selection details, right? Now, not too shabby. You might be saying 250, 200 and whatever.
Yeah.
Megabits, like not too bad. Now the upload is going to be atrocious because it's already atrocious, and I'm uploading everything else.
Oh man, you did kill your audio for a bit there.
Okay, so I'm back in line. You'll notice, $4.99 is not very fast. $2.75, I mean, that's serviceable. That is serviceable internet with, a few kids around. Whatever. Me working from here, I actually haven't had really any significant issues with running this. But here's what's crazy. Here's what's wild about the whole thing. The tower, I looked this morning, okay? The tower for this is only 1.4 miles away, okay?
So it's not far.
And so the other day, I went out in the backyard. Me and my wife were walking around the backyard, right? I'll show you here. So let me go to the Google Maps thing here. We're going to get to ADFS, so it'll happen eventually. So
it's just there's been a lot of things that have happened that we haven't caught folks up on. So it's the little bit of the personal catch up, right? Oh,
right.
See, I was going to tell you don't need to show people your exact address. See, now you're going to get bombarded.
That's okay. I think I'll be okay. I mean, if anybody sends me anything, it'll be interesting, right? So if we look at the satellite, there's this high slop road. Well, right here is the tower. This is the tower, right?
Okay.
That I get my internet from. And if we do like a distance thing, measure distance, and we go back over to my house, where's the hizzy? I can't find it now. I lost my own house. Oh, here it is. When we go over here to my house, it's 1.44 miles. Okay. Now, we took a walk, so this is still some of our property. So we came back here to the back side of the property, right? Which means that our neighbor's house was not in between us and the tower, right? 750 megabit and 60 down, or 60 up and 750, 800 down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I have the same problem. My lot is a traditional Chicago lot. I can almost touch my neighbor's home from the sides of my house, right? It's a little bit farther, but it's close. And so that's what we run into. So it literally is our backup, just because of the fact that we don't have a lot of great visibility to the towers because of how close the houses are. Like, they're long lots in Chicago versus a traditional, like probably what you'd find in see, look at that.
753 by 53. That's what we got on the other side of our creek, right? Or the other side of the
outdoor office time. That's what it means. Outdoor office time, JP.
So Kristen,
you got to sit by that pond.
I was talking to Kristen this morning, and she was like, "What are you gonna do for the show today?" And I was like, I don't know. I said, I'm tempted to take my laptop and just go sit on the other side of the pond. And she's like, actually, why don't you? I'm like, yeah, it's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm sure the neighbors, because it's rural here, for sure. The neighbors, yesterday I was walking around the yard, and I've got a 35-foot like painter's pole, and I took the T-Mobile modem, which is a square box about this big, and zip tied it to the end of this thing. And it's got extension cords and all this stuff coming down. And I know the neighbors are probably looking at us like, who are these people who moved in next to us? Like, what are they doing?
So then Bolt's love letters he's going to send you on February 14th will come in. Make sure they're big, Bolt. Like, make sure they're they're like banner sized, or like, so I feel like that would be a good way to, your neighbor's going to go, what's wrong with these new people that moved in from who knows where?
Very nice. Ben O'Brien. Love it. I think it's like, there's like my wife's from here, and she lived in North Carolina for 15 years, and we decided, it's time to go back up. And so we've been coming up every Christmas, and we come up every summer and stuff. And I remember the first time I came up, they got like 20 inches of snow overnight, and everybody acted like it was just totally normal. And I was like, well, this is weird. And but it's been good. The only problem is like especially where my in-laws are, so about an hour away from us, like my wife's parents, their internet is 10 megabit. And like, they just got that like last summer. Now I can stand in the driveway and get like 50 on my phone, but the most they get at their house is 10. And it's just really disappointing. And I get it. I mean, if you were to come and dig up this road to put fiber underneath it, you're gonna have like 8 customers for a mile,
Yeah.
So I understand why people don't want to do it. But then the other thing is all this grant money that's like from the government. I found 2 fiber providers here who are building fiber networks and obviously using the grant money. So I'm like, let me be customer number 1. One guy's talking about 10 gigabit symmetrical.
Whoa.
Now we're talking. You get some solar outside in the pole barn. 10 gig in, maybe get 2. I mean, why not, right? Like, if it's already up the street, you might as well get 2 or 3 and get 4.
Yeah.
And just run a data center out there in the we'll do some rural, I can't say the word rural. We need another word for rural, or I need to get braces so I can say it like an adult. But, because I can't, anyway. So Bolt asks how the M1 chip has been doing all M1. It's actually not been too bad. Like, there are definitely some things I've had to work around, we'll say, and some things that I just haven't done. Like, I don't have my Stream Deck plugged in, for example. But I feel like the Stream Deck feels fairly ancillary. .NET is stupidly fast. There's a Microsoft Graph CLI that's like in super early preview, and I pulled that down and built one for ARM the other day. That works really well, which has been cool. I had to write a little Teams updater because the Teams app for Teams, like the I don't know what you call it, the thing for Zoom. It has an ARM build, right? So you can go get an ARM Silicon or Apple Silicon like ARM build of Teams, but there's like this audio driver in there that is still Rosetta, and so or still x86 or x64, and so because of that, it's still it still requires Rosetta when you try to run the installer. So the alternative is you unpack the package, you take out the Teams app, and you run the Teams app, which is what I've been doing for a long time. So I've got like a Teams updated script and stuff like that. So, a few little things that we've had to work around, but I wouldn't say anything significant, at least not so far. My kids love Minecraft, and I used to play Minecraft on the computer with them, which of course I can't really do anymore because there's no Bedrock or whatever it's called, Minecraft thing, but I can play it on the Xbox, so whatever, we'll do that. But yeah, I mean, it's not been bad. Like, I'd say it's probably a fantastic .NET dev machine. And the corporate management and stuff's really good on it. Like, this is all Intune managed, so it's all like Intune and Azure AD, like managed devices and stuff. And I mean, it's really not that different from Windows. Like, I haven't really had any, like, there's really no big difference. Like,
wow, well, that's good.
Like, it just hasn't been that bad. I get to work stuff. Like, I use Edge for work, and I use Safari for everything else, because Safari's like really, really fast on here. But I use Edge for work, and so like I've got like a refresh token in Edge, and I don't ever really get prompted to sign in for work stuff, which is great. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you're in the market for M1 or Apple Silicon, like, I think it's pretty good. Now, I should say that we're probably fairly spoiled at Microsoft because our IT shop was huge and does all the new stuff relatively early. But
funny story about Safari. So back when I was still in kind of the help desk land / butting into system administration, this is like 15 years ago, one of the guys I supported was having problems with his internet browser. So he just writes me, I'm having problems with my internet browser. I go down, I'm in Internet Explorer, I'm running the sites he's running, no issue. He has Firefox installed as well, no issue there. So then I finally find him. What's your problem? Oh, I don't use those browsers. And I'm like, oh, what browser do you use? P.S. It's a Windows machine. He used Safari on Windows. And I was like, maybe we should not use this browser.
Wow.
Not really designed for Windows. Oh, that was a fun. I mean, I think all of us who ever done help desk, we've had those stories, but I just, you talk about Safari, maybe go back in time 15 years and go, maybe we should just use Internet Explorer or Firefox, whatever. I mean, you actually have like good browsers on your machine that can do what you need it to do. Let's not use Safari.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
anyway,
Safari for Windows hasn't been out in a long time.
I know. So that I just baited it. So like, I mean, in conjunction with the gray hair, now you know that I'm older.
And it's because somebody was running Safari on Windows. Like, I mean, who does that? But and Bo has
that guy. Oh, that was fun. He had iTunes installed. I guess if I remember correctly, way back when iTunes would put that on Windows machines along with the Bonjour service and all kinds of stuff. So we had to kind of say, don't put iTunes on your corporate Windows machine. So anyway,
yeah, I mean, who would have guessed? But yeah, the battery is really good. So I use a Studio here at home. So it's a Mac Studio at home, so it's a battery. But the power consumption compared to my old 10th Gen i7 is night and day. I mean, it's orders of magnitude lower. And used to be I'd hear the fans whenever like Teams would open, for example, all the fans would spin up like it was going to take off. And I just don't hear it at all anymore because it's very quiet. And the laptop, so I moved like a week or two ago. I mean, my laptop had been in my bag for like 8 or 9 days without being used, and I opened it up and it was 80% battery. And I've been using it like floating around and stuff. So yeah, I mean, the vertical integration is fantastic. iPhone 14, I guess, was announced yesterday. I don't know if there's a whole lot of like big change. Although I did see that they're leaving physical SIMs and going just eSIM now. So
that's
as someone who, I talked to my father 2 days ago to help him with his new phone that he bought, which still uses a physical SIM. After 30 minutes of talking about what a physical SIM is, I dread the day that I have to walk him through switching to an eSIM. So please bring back physical SIMs, please. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, so we are here talking about ADFS. We're talking about Azure Active Directory Connect Health or AAD Connect Health. We're getting your lab set up.
Yeah. So
right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're familiar with Azure AD, you've been around for a long time. Chances are somebody told you to install ADFS. Active Directory Federation Services. Which is essentially for a long time, that was the de facto way. If you were a big corporate place or enterprise, or if you had a Windows domain and you were going to sign into Azure AD or Office 365, ADFS was what you used, because why wouldn't you? Of course, you would use ADFS because it gives you see all this Kerberos sign-on, so it's just single signs you on. You don't have to type in credentials. You don't have to do any of the silliness, and so it was the default standard, for a long time. But for the past few years, there's been a lot of work done on making ADFS and Azure AD sort of bringing parity. So features that were that basically would force you to have ADFS on-prem. A lot of those have been either reimagined, ported, changed, modernized, something, so that they work in regular Azure AD now. So things like certificate-based auth, that was a big one. If you were using a smart card on-prem, sorry, you had to use ADFS until 6, 8, sometime in the last 12 months.
Not that long ago, which is great. Bolt said he's got clients who are still using ADFS, and I think the bulk of our message is you don't need to use it. We can get rid of it, and we'll prove it today. JP will prove it on his tiny little Apple device.
So that's what's sort of crazy about ADFS. I had to come and set up an ADFS lab in order to tell you all how to take it down.
I think that would have been funny to do a live stream for, honestly.
Well, honestly, we should have done it, but I have to go to the doctor at 1 p.m. in an hour and a half, and so this would have been 3 streams long for us to set it up.
I guess that is true. Because every time I set it up, I was always like, okay, I did all this stuff. I don't have time to do the rest of it. I will come back to it. Because it was always getting the network connectivity, especially if you were running your lab at home and you were using consumer-based internet. It was always a weird thing. You had to do a reverse proxy to get your WAP out there. So.
Mm-hmm. So our deployment is fairly simple. So let me get my screen up here. Let's go look at what we've got. So pretty straightforward.
It didn't crash. It didn't crash. So I feel like you should get Apple to sponsor you for these streams or something.
Well, just no more speed tests, and I should have enough bandwidth.
No more upload. I think, but that was what killed it. It was literally one of those things where it felt like you were driving in a tunnel, and it was chop chop chop. It was hilarious. So
a couple things. So we're gonna and now I understand that Cloudflare is problematic. So sorry I didn't pick a different vendor before today because I've been using this, so I kind of didn't have time to move everything. But so let's look at our Azure deployment first. So in our Azure deployment, we have a pretty, I'd say, fairly straightforward ADFS deployment. Really domain sort of ADFS lab, for lack of a better term. You'll notice I created my Dirsync machine this morning. Sorry, it's not called Dirsync anymore. You can't call it that. So here's my ADFS resource group. Pretty straightforward. We've got a couple VMs for DCs. That's the root of our domain. Our domain in this case is adfs.lol, which I'm super excited that we have these new TLDs. So we've got a couple DCs. We've got our Dirsync server that runs Azure AD Connect and synchronizes users up. Now this is Azure AD Connect v2, not cloud managed Azure AD Connect. So there's Azure AD Connect for cloud side, and there's Azure AD Connect that you run
on premises,
the sort of traditional one. Right. And I thought about using the cloud one, but it's well, if you're still running ADFS, it's either for a reason or because you just don't maybe it's just one of those things well, it works, why would I mess with it? And so chances are you also still have Azure AD Connect. Right. I don't think the number of folks who have moved to the super new cloud mastered sync are also still keeping ADFS, unless they have a really specific reason for keeping ADFS, in which case they're not going to care about what we have to say today anyway, right? Because they already know why they're running. So we've got a sync box. All it's doing is running Azure AD Connect. And then we've got our STS itself, which is just the ADFS server itself. And I only have one, and it's using WID, Windows Internal Database. It's not a SQL farm or anything like that. Part of the reason for that is a lot of our telemetry tells us too, sort of the sizing of some of the tenants out there with ADFS. And so, we're not talking about big, massive, huge deployments with thousands and thousands of apps in ADFS, because generally speaking, if you've got that sophisticated of an ADFS setup, you have people who essentially run that, right? Like you have ADFS people who are managing that for you. It's not one responsibility of 15,000 that a normal, someone working in an IT or ops or infra role would have to deal with, right? What is this bolt? What are you talking about? They obviously realize you're killing off most of your domain names, so they lured you back in with new TLDs. You're right. I did do a lot of pruning because I had like 65 domains. And they were costing a fortune every year. And Google charges a lot, I learned. Google charges a lot to premiums on domains.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then the last thing we have a WAP. This thing has a very, I colloquially call this machine the Cardi B machine, but it's a totally different story for a different day. And then we have a Tailscale box. Now, the reason for Tailscale is so that we can access these machines because none of these machines are actually directly on the internet. So
they can't be, right? So these are subscriptions that are managed by our IT department, and it's not just our subscriptions, right? It's all of Microsoft lives in this broader, bigger tenant. And so it's been a little tricky for us to build out demos. So we're building them out either with like a site-to-site VPN or Tailscale. So, and I like Tailscale. You and I were talking about that. I want to say like a couple of, was it weeks? Was it months ago? I mean, we're still kind of in the pandemic haze. So I don't remember. I think it was right before I went on leave. We were talking about Tailscale.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Tailscale. I love it. I think it works really, really well. And
Bolt asked, can you use Bastion? You can. Bastion's kind of expensive. That's the only downfall with Bastion, right? So if we're building up environments at Microsoft that are going to be short-lived, they're not going to live forever and ever and ever and ever. Bastion's sort of expensive. It kind of chews through what we do. But it is something that customers can deploy. And usually enterprises have no problem deploying something like that. In fact, they would probably deploy Bastion versus Tailscale. Tailscale would be like more your developers that are ripping and running and need something spun up pretty quickly.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't use Bastion was exactly what Shannon said, which is the cost. It was, it's going to be $140, $180 or something a month because you need to run 2 nodes, and these are all spot VMs. so now our demo could also completely die at any moment if we get evicted, but that's what the excitement of running in spot nodes, right? And that's why you get a 96% discount on compute rate. So so these are all running. These are all running Windows Server, whatever the latest Windows Server is.
2022.
But ADFS hasn't had massive changes really since like 2016,
right?
Yeah. So if you're still ADFS 2.0, ADFS 2012, like these things are still, everything we're going to talk about is still very relevant and still you can still do it. It's just what you're going to see in my environment is all going to be 2022. So 2 DCs, 1 ADFS, 1 WAP, which actually the WAP right now is unused, and a Dirsync box, and basically a network hop, or network proxy for our Tailscale. So I'm connecting my Tailnet so that I can RDP into these things. For publishing it to the internet, I'm actually using Cloudflare tunnels to publish it to the internet, because the domain's already there, and the publishing aspect makes it much easier to publish it and push it through. So. But we'll get around to that here in a few minutes. So we've got a VNet, we've got our ADFS servers running. We have a federation with Azure AD. So if I was to do a new private window here and we try to go to something like office.com as an end user would, and we try to sign in, and because of course we're coming from outside, I'll use my jpda at adfs.lol. And we should go to our organization sign-in page, which is sts.adfs.lol. So here's my very bog standard, non-customized ADFS login page. I'll sign in if I remember my password, which clearly I don't.
Do you need to send a help desk ticket in?
I might have to. I know the guy on the help desk though, and he's a complete clown. And I think he's busy right now because he's marked as do not disturb. So now I'm signed in. Everything's working. I've got my ADFS running, no big deal. Now, there are lots of these little Connect Health things. And if you've got Azure AD Premium of any flavor, P1, P2, P whatever, if you've got any flavor of Azure AD, you can run what's called ADFS Connect Health. And what ADFS Connect Health is going to do is in addition to the other Connect Health sort of like the other like things in this ADFS Connect Health suite, it essentially is going to capture lots of logs and then start to analyze them for you and tell you when things go wrong. So your ADFS servers go down. Shannon got a notification the other day because her internet
when my internet was having
right?
problems. Yeah, so I don't have ADFS installed in my environment. I actually pulled it down a couple of years ago, and I went with the pass-through authentication route, seamless SSO. It just was easier for some of the stuff I was trying to do. But yeah, with my internet outage yesterday when they replaced my cable and they finally upgraded the line coming into the house, I got interesting alerts, and I got them faster than some of my Azure Monitor logs. So that was an interesting reality. Well, and I didn't have to set anything up. So Azure Monitor, you have to sort of set up, right? It doesn't just work out the gate unless you set up like your actual alerting and what you want to be alerted on. But this just sends you alerts. And it was literally that a couple of my domain controllers in Azure couldn't find a global catalog server. So it was basically saying, you'll have problems authenticating. And I'm like, that is cool. To have that level of detail, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what, of course, that's the advantage of a specific tool over something like, Azure Monitor, which is, of course, super complex and super sophisticated in what it can do. But we're talking about application level monitoring, and that's just not the same. Now, one thing, so this is the tenant we're going to be working in. You'll notice it says adfs.ll up here. That's sort of our main thing here. Now, I tried to change the name because Contoso is boring, but for whatever reason, it hasn't picked up the name yet. So I don't really know what's going on, but whatever.
It might need a little bit to refresh.
Yeah, that's my guess. So here's our place. This is our sort of, and I should probably go to the new portal, right? Like I should go to the intra portal since that's what it's called now.
I think the division would appreciate that, right? Like here's our new portal. It sort of looks like Office 365 and Azure had a baby, kind of. I think. I don't know if you feel that way. I think that's what this is a little bit. Like I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't look like it's quite Office 365. It doesn't look like it's quite Azure. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of like the baby because it's young. It's brand new. It's the baby of Azure and Office 365.
Like a really big baby.
Yeah, it's a really big baby. Like the baby that's like 12 pounds at birth. That's the internal portal. I'm kidding.
I mean, it's still early days, but on that, my children when they were born were fairly lean, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so I wasn't really used to like super big, chunky babies. Like I just like it was none of mine were. Like oddly, somehow they're my children, and they weren't like.
Well, now they're lanky kids because you were telling me that they're all really tall, which I guess makes sense because you're tall, and I think your wife's kind of tall, isn't she?
She is. She's like 5'10". So
yeah. So it makes sense your kids would be lanky, but it's interesting that they weren't very big kids at birth.
Like they were all fairly low. Like they weren't like underweight, but they were just 6-7 pounds. But they didn't have like all the like big baby fat. And my siblings have had their children, and both of their like kids. I went like we saw them at the beach. I picked them up. I'm like you pick up the child, it's like
you almost get it
together.
Yeah.
And you're like where's the baby in here? Like it's just so squishy. Anyway, so the intra portal, So if you didn't hear over the summer or over the spring, we got a new net. It was the summer.
It was early summer. It was in June. It went GA right around the time that the RSA conference happened.
Yeah. So Intra is sort of like this umbrella brand or name for all of the like identity related stuff. So that's going to be the stuff we already have, like Azure AD, but also all the new stuff that's coming, like permissions management, which Shannon's going to be spending most of the end of the year diving into, and things like verified ID, like the ID. Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We'll sprinkle it.
So if you were ever worried, perhaps, that maybe Microsoft had lost some of its marketing genius, just remember that there's the Microsoft Intra Azure Active Directory premium SKU that gives you access to Microsoft Intra Azure Active Directory conditional access rules. So just remember, it's totally okay. Anyway, I'm only sort of kidding here, but the Intra portal is sort of, that's your main place. It's intra.microsoft.com.
Yeah.
And it'll be... same kind of experience.
Yeah, and I think the quick overview is Azure Active Directory isn't the only thing that happens in the realm of identity within cloud, right? So you've got permissions management, you've got verified ID. It made sense to sort of rebrand it and have this larger umbrella sit kind of over Azure Active Directory and then permissions management and verified ID. So,
hey, Ultima Nick. I think I know who Ultima Nick is, and Ultima Nick is extremely excited about permissions management.
He is. You know, he told me who he was a while back. So
yeah, you'll probably see a whole lot more of Ultima Nick on the 45 show too in the future, which would be great.
Is this where I tell him to accept our planning meetings? Nick, accept your planning meetings. I need you to accept your planning meetings.
I mean, Nick could be just his nickname as an Ultima
that is true.
nickname. Ultima's kind of, when I hear Ultima, I think about the super old game. So I'm probably dating myself, but whatever. Anyway, okay. So we're in Azure Active Directory. The Azure Active Directory, I mean, it looks, come on, like, it's not, the blades are different. They're fatter, I guess. Like, but I mean,
that's why I said it's kind of like an interesting in between Azure and Azure Active Directory, right? Well, then the M365 portal.
So in the future, as more and more new identity products line up, of course, you're going to start to see a whole lot more through here. So, okay, now the problem now is I don't know how to get to the thing I came here to do in this one. Maybe it's hybrid management. Azure AD Connect.
That's it.
So in our hybrid management, this in Connect Health, this is our tool. It's a really lightweight little agent. You go and install it on your ADFS server, and then you sit back and let the logs pour in. Now, because
minimal effort.
Very minimal effort. That's why we talked for the last 40 minutes, because we're going to run an installer and it's going to be done, and then we're going to sit.
And then we have our stream done, right? People, it's been a bit since people have watched us, so we had to get them caught up on what was going on.
So I did already download this agent, and I'm my apologies that it's a little difficult to zoom here. I thought that there was a way to do it, but now I can't seem to remember how I did it before. So sadly, because this is like an old .NET installer type thing, it's going to be a little bit small. But we downloaded it from the portal. So you go to the portal, you end up in your Connect Health, which is under hybrid management here. It's under Azure AD Connect in the sort of old portal, for lack of a better term. Under here, and then you'll see...
scroll down.
There it is, Health and Analytics.
Yep.
And you can monitor your on-premises identity infrastructure. Now, Connect Health for the Connect server itself, for the sync server, is already installed sort of
when you install it. Yeah.
Right. So that's already there. Connect Health for ADFS is a separate install. And if you're using DS, if you're using Azure AD, if you're using DS like
traditional Active Directory,
if you're using ADFS, you're using you can also synchronize those logs up to get
and that's what my alerts came out on. Like I said, I don't have ADFS in my environment, but I do have domain controllers, and that's where I got the alerts the other day when I was getting my cable line reinstalled.
Nice. So I downloaded this already just onto this box, and so we'll run through the installer really quickly. It's really pretty straightforward, not a whole lot to it. Like, it's a typical Microsoft wizard. Next, finish. We're going to go configure it, which is really just going to be, hey, you should go and log in to do this thing. So, no, this might be a problem. This whole IEESC, which I haven't turned off. I hope that it's not. I wonder if I can just put star. You don't want to put star in your trusted zones. I won't do that. I'll do it when nobody's looking.
Or you could just stop it, turn it off, run it, and turn it back on.
Well, here's what we'll do. Now, I don't deploy many VMs because it's been a long time.
Go to local server.
So I forget the things I have to do. So let's turn it off for admins. There we go.
Yeah.
And then we're just gonna. I hope the button is still there to configure it.
So if you so back out, because I had the same thing with a couple of my servers when I was installing this way back. I mean, it wasn't really that long ago, but yeah, exit out of your PowerShell prompt too. I believe it's going to.
You think so? Well, here, I'll try it quickly, and if we still have to do it, we'll do it again. So we're going to register Azure AD Connect Health Agent. I should probably zoom this in, right? No, can't zoom this one in either. Okay. So, we can. All right. Now it's very wonky. Okay, so that's going.
Okay. See, bring the dev in. Bring the dev in.
Okay.
The infrastructure person would just rerun it.
I mean, it
I'm
says
like,
right here.
oh,
to
it bopped
refresh
out. No, I mean,
configuration.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you. But like, I'm just so used to like, let's back out and rerun the the install.
So I'm going to sign in with my global admin account. The password for which I need to go and fetch. So, un momento, please. If I still have that window open, which I hope I do.
Stop sharing briefly?
No, I'll move it over to the other screen because luckily today I am not streaming from the other side of the pond. I am streaming from a desk like an adult. So let me go get my password here for this environment. So this is just the Azure AD environment here. This is a demo environment, like a developer tenant. So anybody can go get a developer tenant. They're essentially they're free. And you get a bunch of P2 licenses, so you can try out the P2 features and learn about them and build apps that take advantage of them, and get like a tenant that you can do this kind of stuff in without having to pay.
Right.
Which is great. Like, of course, anything you don't have to pay for is better, or anything you make somebody else pay for is even better. So, okay, ADFS auditing is not enabled correctly. Please verify ADFS configuration and machine audit policy. Okay, so I guess I should probably do that. And this is what's going to give us usage analytics. So, what's interesting about this is Connect Health is sort of like the first step of many you can take as part of a broader sort of ADFS visibility, and maybe even migration path. Like, you don't have to migrate. I wouldn't call ADFS Connect Health a migration tool, but it gives you enough information that you can make a much more informed decision about how to migrate, what to migrate, which apps are people using, which apps are they not using, which users are signing in. Like, the depth of the data that you're going to see in here once we get it up is it lets you make a smarter decision, we'll say, right? It lets you plan better. And of course, if you've got a small ADFS deployment, maybe it becomes really obvious that it's small because you have so many users signing in and you've got one app. Like, if your one app is Azure AD, that's a fairly straightforward migration. There's not a whole lot you have to do for it. If you've got 10,000 apps or 1,000 apps, or even we'll say 50, even 15, 20 apps, that's a lot of applications, right? That's a high number. And you're going to want to make sure that as you're migrating people, if any of those are business critical, that that authentication doesn't die for them on the way. And Connect Health is a huge first step in understanding enough to do that. So the first thing we need to do before is we got to go figure out why my auditing isn't working, and I'm sure it's probably because there's some domain policy that isn't configured appropriately, and yada yada yada. So let's
see. That's why we actually should have done a stream watching you install ADFS. We could have called it something like devs can also install ADFS, because traditionally the developer was not installing ADFS. I mean, at least every environment that I ever inherited, because I never got a chance to install it outright. I always inherited like either environments that weren't working or didn't work well. And it was always a system administrator that did it, or some sort of consultant that was a solution architect, or some sort of, skilled consultant. So, but yeah, totally. Missed opportunity. Maybe if we get some interested folks, we can redo it, and I can heckle in the background while you install software on a server.
I mean, it's also not entirely impossible that I will completely break my ADFS installation and we'll have to go make a new one. So, don't count those chickens just yet. So, now I'm not on 22R2. So let's see. Okay, so 2016. Not on 2016 either. But I'm assuming 2016, seeing as that's sort of like the last named ADFS, people.
Well, and that's the last actual forest functional level, domain functional level, right? So wouldn't shock me. It's I'm sure if you did the 2016 instructions, it would probably work.
So let's see. So local security policy, is that secpol.nsc? That's the right one, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Look at that.
Look at magnifier already up here for us. Great. All right.
It's like it knew that you were doing a live demo on your Apple, your tiny little Apple machine.
I love this I love this 1 frame every 2 seconds frame rate I'm getting out of this magnifier. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to go look at security. Let's see, we're going to go to tools, local site call, which we're already in, and then security settings, local policies, user rights assignment. Oh my, okay. I guess this makes sense, right? So you want to go see what users are doing, whatever. I guess that makes sense. So we're going to look at local policies, user rights assignment. Okay. Local policies, user rights assignment. And we're going to look at who can do security audits, right? Let's see. I believe the permission is can generate or double click generate security audits. And then we need the ADFS service account, of which I need to go back and look and see what the service account is for ADFS, because we are using an auto-generated one, or basically, I guess it's a GMSA. So let's see here. Generate security audits. That starts with a G, which comes after F. Okay. And ADFS serve. What is that? That's my service account. That's the service, like the Windows service identity. So I believe in here. Let me search for STS. Let's see if I can find it. No. ADFS, maybe? I guess we can always go find this somewhere. You know what I mean? I just don't remember what they are. Nope. Okay, let's go to our domain. Let's see. Managed Service Council. GMSA STS ADFS. GMSA STS ADFS. Okay. Oops, no. Oh, yeah, you can take that out. GMSA, that should be enough, right?
I think so. There you go.
All right, got our account in here. Cool, okay. So that account is now able to do security audits. What else do we have to do? Local security setting, verify, it's not listed on local security setting. What? Oh, wait, okay. And then to enable auditing, we have to go run a command. Yeah, because this is, I mean, I love the transparency of this. Like, I definitely could have done this without this document. I don't know about you, but I memorized every wood that I type. Okay. Audit Paul. So we're going to set the subcategory success enable. Let's do that. Maybe I'm not in an elevated. I don't think I'm in an elevated command window. So
is this where I heckle? Come on! I'm kidding.
I know. Boo,
there you go. There you go. And your buffer still works.
Again. And it looks like it's wrong. Oh no, it's still giving me a 0057. They're still saying it's wrong.
Parameter is incorrect.
So I'm gonna cheat and see what the 0057 is.
I mean, you don't memorize your error codes either. No, well, good memory.
I believe 57 is something to do with access. Like 5 is definitely an access.
Yeah.
But let's see. What is 57? 57. I wonder what that's for. I might have to go look at the error logs, but let me see what this error is all about. The parameter is incorrect. I wonder if like subcategory is wrong or something like that. Let's see.
Maybe we can submit a PR at some point and update the documentation if it doesn't work.
Okay, hang on. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So we installed the thing, right? Don't install the ADFS agent on your sync server. Okay, thank you for that. So we installed our we installed our agent for ADFS. Cool.
Okay.
Make sure your ADFS server hostname is unique and isn't present in the ADFS service. What does that even mean? Server hostname is unique. Okay, it's not because we're using a different name. So we installed the thing. We sign in as we must. ADFS auditing is not configured. Okay. Be sure to complete the requirements before you install the agent.
Oh, maybe we missed a requirement.
So we did this. Yep. So we got it. We have
global
P2,
administrator.
We're global admin.
Do you have Azure AD Connect Health installed on the ADFS
but do
server?
I have to? Oh, you must install the agent.
Yeah,
on the ADFS
that's what
server.
it's saying.
Okay. So
maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's what you need. That's a very similar installation.
So that's a me problem. So let's go. Let me go grab it. Let's go get that. Let's go download that.
It's on the same blade that you were on before. You can download it just like you can download the ADFS bits too. That's the one.
Where is it? This one?
That's it.
This is Azure AD Connect.
Ooh, yeah, no, hang on. Can you install it by itself?
Hang on. We were here
question.
A minute ago. The site we were on a second, or the page oh no, that wasn't the right place to go. Sorry. The place we were just told us where to go get it. So let's see here. It's not here. Install the agent for ADFS. Oh wait, here they are. Get started with let's see. Get started using Azure AD Connect Health for Sync.
I think you might have to install.
You got to be kidding me! All right.
But then just set it up so you're not doing password hash sync.
Well, I imagine we just need to install it so the agent gets on there, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. There is no separate Connect install, like Connect Health install, meaning you have to do the full-blown Azure AD Connect installation.
Good point, Volt. My org name is correct in the intra portal, so +1 for the intra portal. I'm sold. I'll use the intra portal from here on out.
But old habits die hard. The other day I logged into Azure Active Directory inside of the Azure portal, and I'm like, I need to be better about this.
Well, I still go to oh, wait a minute. What? Wait.
So then it's on here.
I'm super confused now. This is my ADFS server, right? Oh no. Oh, maybe I already did it. Whatever. Okay. This is my ADFS server.
Okay, continue.
So, okay, I don't want to do this. Sorry, I want to customize. The only thing I want to do. I don't want to do any of this. It's weird. Well, let's see what it does. I'll see what it does. Maybe there's one of the options you can choose in here is because
just
satisfy the requirements for Azure AD Connect Health. Okay, P1, P2, global admin. Azure AD Connect Health agent is installed on each targeted server. The Connect Health, but isn't the Connect Health agent for ADFS the ADFS Connect Health agent? I don't think I need.
I would have thought so because the install is basically the same thing.
Yeah, what's the?
So I don't know. I guess I don't know.
So we have connectivity. Everything's good.
If only we knew somebody in the Azure Active Directory Connect. We should probably ask the feature PMs at some point.
I asked a couple folks, but it was sort of last minute. So they're like, no, not. And of course, the other common thing I got was I haven't installed that, and I haven't installed ADFS in ages. I'm like, yeah, okay, I've heard this. I'm hearing this a lot.
Now why I scrap my environment at home too. I'm glad you have a lab environment, but I haven't installed this for years.
Yeah. See, this is definitely not. We don't want any of these things. So we're gonna.
Then click on Do Not Configure.
Yeah, but I don't want any of that stuff. Well, now that it's installed, let's see if it. So this is saying. So I wonder if this subcat. So okay, well, the first thing we can do is what does Audit Paul actually do? Oops, I need to do it in my administrator window. So this sets an audit policy and this subcategory. What is this subcategory? I wonder if it's different per OS version. It's some CLS ID or something, right? So. This is the application generated audit subcategory. Okay. So that should be the same. I'm assuming that's probably going to be the same. Okay. So, okay. If only I knew somebody who knew ADFS. If only I knew a bunch of PFEs who did ADFS for 28 years. Okay. Anyway,
28 years.
So we got to get this. We got to get this sec poll. We got to get security or this auditing policy in here, right? So, all right. So hang on. Let me check. So we meet our. I believe we fulfill our UX as we should. All these are open, of course. We've got our agent installed. Yeah, Azure AD or the ADFS installation agent. We'll go look at the instructions here, but they're pretty straightforward. We did those things. We signed in. That all looks good. To verify it was installed, look for the following services. Well, let's go look at our services just for the sake of completeness. So we go Connect Health, ADFS Diagnostic Service, ADFS Insight Service, and ADFS Monitoring Service. Good. So we got our services. Those are all good. And they're running. Enable auditing. Okay, cool. You don't have to do these on the WAPs. So we're not on server 2012. We are not on server 2016. Now, are these subcategories the same? 0CCE9222. 0CCE9222. 9AE. Yeah, okay. These are mapping close enough the whole way through that I think they're going to be the same. Okay. Let's see. To enable auditing, open a command prompt with elevated privileges and run this command. I mean, okay, this is going to sound kind of silly, but surely this is not a CMD versus PowerShell problem.
Yeah, because it is a CMD.
Oh, no, it was. You know why? It's because there's curly braces in PowerShell, and it's reading this as something that it's not. Yeah, because it worked fine here.
Okay. Okay.
So
hey, man, the basics.
The
basics sometimes escape us.
Yeah.
The basics.
So, yeah, okay.
So now you should be able to rerun it, and it should be success, right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Right here. Command was successfully executed.
No, I mean, but you don't need to rerun the ADFS, right? Because those were warnings, weren't they? When you ran through the ADFS Connect Health.
Correct.
You don't need to rerun it, right?
No, but we do have a few things we have to do in ADFS.
Okay.
So we do have to do a few things here in ADFS management.
Okay.
I guess I can let's get our magnifier back out. So in ADFS management, and then we also have to go run some PowerShell. I feel like if we're going to run installers, maybe there's some installers that can maybe do this for us. So we're going to look at Federation service properties, events, and then success and failure events is what we want. So Federation service properties and then events. Okay, let's see. Where's my Federation service properties? Okay, and then events. We're going to do. We've got them all checked already. Excellent. Very good. Okay, those are all good. And then we're going to open another PowerShell window, and we're going to set ADFS's audit level to verbose. So that's going to be great. So it's basic by default. We need to switch it over to verbose so we get as much data being pulled into health as possible. So let's come over here to our PowerShell. We shall exit the CMD, and we'll do PowerShell. We'll go back to our PowerShell prompt, and we will run set ADFS properties. Now, I'm not even moving my mouse, and it's still moving around. Okay, cool. So now we've got a verbose audit level. Very good. And then ADFS audit logs. Okay, cool. We don't need to do all that. So install the agent for sync. We've already done that. A group policy can disable ADFS auditing. Okay, so now we got the Connect Health agent running. So let's go back here to the portal and see. I'm not sure what the sync timeline is. Okay. So now we see our ADFS server in here. Last updated 1204. So that was like just now, right? You're correct. Bolt, the doc said command prompt. See, I think this is the thing that I'm going to take a moment here. Sorry. I think this is what happens, right? And this is why I think last year this is so interesting. Is how many times have you the viewer, or you the Shannon, how many times have you fallen down some rabbit hole like that and burned like half an hour of your own time?
Ooh, you don't want to know. More often than I care to admit. More often than I care to admit. Remember when I was having all kinds of problems with my camera when I switched over to this team? You know what it was? I was overloading a USB bus. So I'm like, oh my God. The things you have, I'm like updating firmware. I'm like, it's got to be the firmware. It's got to be the software. No, it was the hardware, Shannon. You probably should have looked at what you were doing with that specific bus. I figured it out.
Yep. So okay, so we've got our server here now, and of course, you may have noticed it's here in our list under our Connect Health. We've got our ADFS server, which is awesome.
What are your warnings? Are they the same warnings that we got?
So let's see. So 17 clicks later, I see my two.
Just 17.
I see my two. Just that's right, only 17. So it says that we have two. Let's collapse this thing here on the side.
I think you can click on it and get. Yeah. There you go. There
we go. Okay, so at 11:57 a.m.
It's the 2 warnings.
So ADFS auditing is disabled. So we will not see usage, which of course usage is one of the most important pieces. So we just fixed this, which is good. Now, what I love here is that instead of random GUID, the audit poll command here says application generated, which of course we confirmed that GUID actually was the application generated subcategory. But good to know that you can also use a string for the name of it there. So good to know there. So this I believe we can say is we're good here because we did sort that out.
It just takes time to refresh and have it check again and make sure that the warnings are no longer warnings.
Now, DNS. Now, one thing I noticed is these are Windows Server VMs in Azure. They're Gen 2 VMs. They use accelerated networking. They use accelerated networking because they do, not because it was like I needed it for any particular reason. It was that it was enabled by default when I was creating the VMs, and I just left it. What I learned, and what I found was very sort of strange, is that because I'm using AD, like Windows AD, the DNS servers, of course, because Windows AD is also, they're also going to be DNS servers, which is what I wanted. I set the DNS servers in our VNet to be the AD DNS servers, right? And every single time I would reboot that server, none of the other servers would work. None of them could get to the internet. They'd all die. And what I found was that the root hints were defaulting to the IPv6 root hints. And so I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I'll go fetch the latest root hints or go get the root hints, the IPv4 and 6 root hints, and away we go, right? No big deal. But I'm almost certain, it would have worked fine because it's just quotation marks, right? Like it's not curly braces, which are magic things in PowerShell. So I have still not been able to get DNS to use IPv4 root hints. Every time I reboot the machine, it wipes them out. And this has been a huge, long time. Like tons of people have this problem. And I guess maybe this isn't going to get fixed. I don't know. So, hi, Code with John. Good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So what this is telling us is that we shouldn't use a CNAME for our ADFS farm name, right? We need to use an A for Windows Integrated Auth to work. So my assumption would be in most environments, you're probably using an A because you've got Windows that are, curb roasting over to this thing. So we can go make that fix, but I think this is a relatively minor thing. It's not going to cause any problems with our DNS anyway, because we don't have any machines on network that are going to be accessed directly anyway. So we have our things here. We got our 2 alerts. We got the auditing disabled fixed. We got that one sorted. The DNS one, we can go fix it if we really felt like we wanted to. And so these errors should resolve here, I imagine, fairly soon. Let's see here. Last detected was 11:57, so cool.
Maybe it's every 20, 30 minutes.
Well, I think it's when we installed it, or right around the time.
Okay.
Probably sent its first data, because the other one was the same. The ADFS auditing was the same, 11:57. So, cool. So we've got our alerts. So those are really good. Now, token requests per second from the last 24 hours. Now, I am logging into this thing that frequently, which will go, I'll go sign, I guess. We're not going to see a whole lot of data yet. So, I'm going to sign in. sign in with our ADFS.lol account. We can go over to over here, and I will type in the wrong password first, as usual. That way, any keyloggers get thrown off the scent, And now we're signed in, which is great. Let's see, my content. So I'm in my office now. How long it's going to take before we see these? I think I don't think see it immediately. It might take a little bit before we see it again. But we get some information about the server, no big deal. So now we've got health running, and one of the other things that's really, really interesting about this is the applications that people. Now, I don't have any data, like a ton of data just yet, because we're still setting everything up. Now we have 3 alerts. So I should probably go see what our third alert is. So we'll be able to see things like top app visits. We'll be able to see the apps that people are using, and the apps that people are using, if they are, for example, only Office 365. If you have one relying party, for example, in your ADFS and it is Azure AD, you'll see sort of where people are going. If you've got a bunch of other like SAML federations or SWS Fed federations to different applications, you'll be able to see that here and just get a better handle of how much actually signing in to some of these apps that we've got configured in ADFS. So let's go look at our third alert now that we have a new one. The Windows Transport endpoint is enabled. It is rated that be disabled. This is NTLM from the extranet. Very nice. So if you want a walkthrough of how to set up an insecure ADFS server, I believe we're doing it right now. So we don't have any traffic yet. Now, one thing that I learned that someone dropped in my mailbox is that you and me, we could go give everyone right now an account and say, hey, please go log into like Office or Azure Portal or whatever with an account from this domain. But we could do that. I don't think that actually probably be that big of a deal. But what one of our friends is essentially a PowerShell tool that I don't want to say fakes a bunch of logins, but it generates a lot of logins. Those are legitimate logins, like they're not fake logins, but they're not like users sitting in to generate data that goes into that Connect Health can see. That's what this does. Now, I've never run this, but I'm actually kind of curious to go and to go see. Is this published anywhere? Oh, wow, it was just updated a few hours ago. So we're definitely flying by the seat of here. So let's go get this and see it. Let's go see if it works. Let me go. Let's make a temp folder here. I have one. Let's make a temp and call this ADFS, and let's do a clone. Now, who are wizards? It's like, again, you're a PowerShell, Shannon.
I always say that I'm the perpetual green belt with anything code, because I've looked at some stuff that people have written PowerShell wise, and I'm like, that's really cool. I didn't know you could do that, right? So then I always think to myself, I'm like, ooh, do I have my own like flavor of imposter syndrome? So I just always say I'm the perpetual green belt for anything code, even ARM templates, anything with Terraform, anything with Bicep, the AZCLI, because I always feel like there are more sophisticated folks out there who bang away at it, and I find interesting stuff on GitHub all the time. So yeah, I wouldn't call myself a guru. I can make some cool stuff happen, but I'm not the one that's doing all like the verbose logging, like the really cool, like, how people have, when you install the AZCLI, you see that like interesting graphic that shows up. Like I don't know how to do that stuff because I don't have enough time, I don't think. It's not to say I couldn't do it. It's just, who has the time? I don't have the time.
All right, we're gonna import this module. Now, I am very not good at I'm very not good at PowerShell.
And that's funny because you are a whiz with .NET. Yeah. No, well, I'm with you.
It's like C# with a weird syntax. So
yeah.
Import module. Now I can now do a and module ADFS activity, right? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So get
or you can do get help, I think, too. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So what does this do? An identifier. Is there? I don't think so. Let's see. There's no README. That's okay.
No. Oh, yeah. The README is what you see there.
Marcus and say, hey, like, can you use your tool that you rate? Because it's a cool tool. I just don't know. I'm not entirely sure how to use it. So
anything, what's the en-us? Is there any more details in there? Like, is there any, like, go back to GitHub and see if there's any documentation in there in those folders.
Where did I get? Oh, it's a different browser.
Did you close it? Oh.
No, here it is. I could just. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that en dot. Let's see. Hang on.
Okay, so you can create schedule tasks to add activity to test farms. See if it's installed Connect Health Agent. This will also be available in the Azure AD portal. Awesome. If you plan to migrate, the applications displayed in the activity report will help details about the app migration. Okay, cool. So, I guess the other options, we can just look at the code and see what it does, you know. So what does get ADFS activity token do? So this gets OAuth tokens for public and confidential clients. Public can be interactive, integrated, okay. Ew, okay, I see. Interesting. So when you get a token from our ADFS server, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little not really sure. Like, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of extra stuff we have to set up to make this work, but I'm okay.
Possibly.
Okay for us to give it a shot. Let's give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot. If we need to do more, we can always do another stream, right? I think folks enjoy tuning in and watching us struggle. I mean, build things.
Well, you know,
do you like that struggle? I mean, build things.
Yeah, get this to work in a minute, and we're gonna. Okay, so I wonder if this. Oh no, WS Fed. That's cool. Okay, so I think it's going to try to sign me in. Okay, public client authentication can be interactive, integrated Windows off. Okay, so sign into an application on an ADFS server using logged in creds. Okay, and then we'll have credential. Now, if I do a get credential, that should pop a window. But I don't think get credential works in PowerShell Core on another machine or on OS or Mac OS, whatever it's called. Right? Let's try.
I've never tried it.
Credential. Oh, hello. Okay. What? Now, am I going to type in? Yeah. Okay. Now, is it gonna?
Hopefully, it's it's a bunch of asterisks.
Oh, look at that! Hunter 2.
Hey, I have that password. I don't have that password.
Yeah. So if you type
it's a bunch
yours
of stars. I have stars. It'll also be stars.
That's right. If you just see stars, because it knows it's your password.
Yeah. Which is good.
Okay. So we've got that. So now let's try to go get. So we're going to go get an ADFS activity token with a credential, and that's our $cred. Let's go see how that didn't work at all. So okay, get form login fields. Oh, so this is like a proper go scrape the internet and automate the internet like kind of thing. You know what I mean? Right.
Do it.
So let's see here. Login failed for Microsoft Online. Okay, so let's go look at the code for that and see exactly where it's taking us. I'm fairly certain there's something about it doesn't like, or it's not resolving correctly. So if we were to let me see if we can get to it from here. If we were to curl test.lol adfs ls, do we actually see anything? No, we do. Okay, so we can get to it. It's an error, but that's fine. We can at least get to the machine. Now, interestingly, probably because we're coming over Tailscale, we're actually privately, but whatever. Shouldn't be a big deal. ADFS activity token is going to do. Oh, you know why? It's probably, well, no, because internally you can still get to forms. You can still do forms on an internal authentication, right?
As far as I know,
so forms should still be there. So
these are things I haven't thought about for a while.
Me.
I
Okay,
mean, it's
so-
like you know, having like Active Directory skills in 2022. It's like, you know, the traditional on-prem Active Directory. I have to look up stuff because I'm like, I don't quite remember everything. That's probably old age.
Yeah. If null not equal to credential, what a weird null check. But I think that's what you're just doing PowerShell. So it's a WSDED request. We're going to go to HTTPS, ADFS host, ADFS LS, client request ID, some GUID. And the realm is the identifier. What is the identifier here? Host name for the ADFS server. So it's sts.adfs.lol. Cool, okay. And then the credential, how are we unpacking the credential? So here's the credential. And then get login form fields. That must be in one of the other modules here. So first let's check essentially that we can actually access this. So I'm gonna put this over here, and we're going to curl iv to sts.adfs.lol, adfs ls. And then we're going to do a client request. I guess I can move my head a little bit easier for everybody, don't you think? We'll do a client request ID, and we're going to do a new GUID and WA sign in. Or sorry, WA is W sign in. One go. And our WT realm is our, what is our identifier again? Because we got our ADFS host. What is identifier? Is that me? No. Oh no, it's URN. Sorry, it's the Federation host.
Oh, okay.
My Microsoft. What is it? Microsoft Online Federation. Blah 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 blah. Let's go get it because I had it one of my previous year, but it's not there anymore. That's right. Okay. What was it? You are in Federation Microsoft Online. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Because that is the name of the ADFS that represents Azure. So can we get there?
Okay.
I feel like we're probably going to have to put this into a string. So string, because it's probably trying to do all sorts of stuff that's going to blow up and get upset. Okay, so we can get there. Cool. Apparently I can't type today. So let's try this again. And that looks like a normal ADFS login. Oops, curl. Okay, so that's giving us a 405, which I would kind of expect because we're doing a head call by putting that in there. I think we're just trying to get the header. So let's just take that. Let's take the head out. Bam. Okay, we're getting a login screen. So that's good.
Okay.
So this is just the HTML of the login screen. It's a good start, right? And then it goes and does this get login form fields. That must be somewhere in here. I'm guessing maybe in the private.
Try the private.
Get login. There we go. So this is looking for a form field called user name, capital N. Fields, a second. Where? Let's see where that is. Let's look in here, I guess. I think it's lowercase u. Like they're called. Is it called username input? Let's see. What are they called in the HTML? So we can go to the ADFS server directly, I guess, for this. Off options. Okay. All looks okay. Where is our area? So it's called password input and username input. Okay. So I wonder, pre-login, what's pre-login? Okay, so that goes into the data. We could get the web app, right? We get the web page here.
Okay. Okay.
If it's not 200, we bomb. If it's not pre-login forms, there should be one form. I think there's only one form. Form fields. And I guess what's happening is that it's not actually username. It is username. Oh no! Name of username.
Okay, so Bolt says, "Don't get caught out. ID is username input, but name is username."
Yeah. So
So
I wonder then, why isn't that working though? All right, let's try this again. So get ADFS activity token. Federation Microsoft Online. Should I? Let's see. No, that all looks okay. Doesn't look like there's an actual thing for that. Should I maybe put this in quotation marks? Maybe it's some sort of an escaping problem. Nope, that's okay. Now, it's also possible that my federation has a different, because it is essentially a brand new one, or it could be, I wonder if it's a port problem. Nope. Okay. So let's take this URL and go put it in the browser. What do we get?
do it. I'm seeing if there's anything I can find on the interwebs.
You need a GUID.
I feel like this is one of those things where, like, I feel like sometimes some of these environments, ADFS is like a Swiss Army knife, like a massive Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, there it is. So, this URL definitely works.
Yep.
From this machine, right? This is the same machine
right.
that we're running. So, I wonder if it has something to do with invoke web request. Web request works differently on Mac OS than it does on Windows, and thus that's why it's missing. Like, as in, the way that it gets the data and parses it is perhaps different because it is because it's on Windows. The easy way to test that would be, well, let's just go get a zip of this and take it to a Windows machine.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Do you have one?
Yeah, we're gonna get it right here. Let's get our ADFS server, because
there you go. Why not? Why not?
Okay.
I mean,
you know,
it's
one
true.
thing I was thinking,
as far as we know.
One thing I was kind of surprised didn't exist is, on Hyper-V, you can checkpoint machines, right? Like, you're a VMware person, so like I know Hyper-V probably makes you like physically cringe.
No, but you know how many people are moving to Hyper-V if they still have on-premises environments and they're sort of sticking it to VMware? It's more of a common theme to migrate off of VMware and onto Hyper-V because of the licensing agreements that customers have. So I think if I was still in the on-premises land, I think I would have been better at Hyper-V by now. But you're right. Like, that was my background, was very heavy in VMware. But yeah, checkpoint, isn't that a snapshot, right? Isn't that what it is?
I mean, yeah, like, it's basically, hey, I'm about to go do something with the server, so take a stamp of it really quickly so you can go back to where I am
exactly.
right
Yeah.
now, you know?
So it's the same sort of concept. You would do that on VMware too. You just want to make sure that your environment, and then you keep it handy while you do a thing, and it's like sort of stored. It's kind of like a bookmark, right? You want to make sure you get rid of it, especially or if your environment's very chatty and a lot of things are happening. But yeah, so that's kind of yeah.
Makes sense.
There are similar. It's sort of like sort of like Android and iPhone, right? They basically do the same thing anymore. There's a handful of nuances that are different.
True. Okay. We got a PowerShell window here, which I hope is large enough for everybody to see. So let's go in here. I can't do
it's a little blurry. I don't know if you can make it a little bit bigger. Oh, never mind. Maybe it was just your T-Mobile catching up. I should be nice.
Yeah,
nicer.
the bits probably, the bits only come so fast. Let's, we can do 72. Who cares, right? Like,
Yeah, why not?
The next person to log into this, somebody's going to come log into this ADFS server to do some work, and they're going to be like, "Oh my god, what happened?" Okay.
Yeah. This is JP legally blind? What's going on?
Okay, there we go. So we're going to go into our ADFS activity, and then we're going to import our module ADFS activity PS. So what's the difference between a PSD and a PSM? Do you have any idea?
So I think PSM is the module. PSD, that's a good question. I can never remember.
What did I like about that? Oh, it's that digital. Set execution policy, remote signed. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so PSM contains the main. Yeah, so PSM1, it contains the main source code for the PowerShell module, and PSD1 is the manifest data. Yeah, you're asking the infrastructure person that was just excited that I could do things with PowerShell. I still, if somebody would have told me like why it was important versus you can do all this stuff automatically, like I took like an intro to C# and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, that's why I'm doing it. Oh, that would have been nice to know versus putting a bunch of arbitrary things together that didn't necessarily make sense to me because I wasn't a .NET developer or a C# developer.
Okay. So files, we set our execution policy. I should be able to import the PSM now. Now we're imported. So let's get our command, which we actually had for my machine. I'm just going to go grab this one. Just get ADFS activity token for that station with this ADFS host, yada, yada, yada. So let's get back over here to our thing. And I don't have a credential, so we'll have to put that in. But I'm going to put this in just so it's in my history. So let's see. We'll do a get credential.
Okay.
And we'll use adfs.lol. This is just all user account. This isn't like an admin or anything like that. Please don't show my password though. Okay. Moment. Is it going to work this time? Let's take the port number off since we don't need, or we shouldn't need that at least. Oh yeah, so it worked fine this time. Because there's a big, huge SAML thing that came out.
Nice.
A big, huge SAML assertion that plopped down. So login successful. So yeah, so it has something to do with how underlying implementation of Invoke Web Request, because Invoke Web Request doesn't have a, of course it uses some kind of like way to do it. And since it's parsing the HTML, there's something about it that isn't working right? Or not that it's not working, that it's different. So that's good. Okay, so now that we've got our ADFS activity token, what are the other things we can do with this tool? What was it? Get module? Is that right? Come learn PowerShell with us. Get commands. And the module is ADFS activity. Oh, sorry, so new ADFS activity SAML request B64. So does that mean I don't want to do a SAML request though, because I don't have any. I've only got one ADFS. I've only got one after my thing, right? Oh no, Donald's here. License infringements. Wait a minute. Hold up. Oh yeah, that's right. You don't have to code as a Copilot. That's true. Thanks, Bolt. Yes, I actually back.
He also has an iPhone.
Thank you,
all of a sudden, my text messages to JP were no longer like the default blue. They moved into the realm of I was texting an iPhone person, and then I saw him in person for our offsite. I guess it was an offsite for folks who are in Redmond. It was an onsite for us that don't live or work in Redmond. And I'm like, who are you? You're on a Mac. You've got an iPhone. Just tell everybody you're going through a midlife crisis.
I left, of course. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm 30-something. I'm on that second half of life, right? This is my wife and we use iPhones for a long time. love phones. Like Windows Phone was also, I just love those things. I've got a box, literally a entire Sterilite 66-quart bin of Windows phones in my basement. No, Daniel, it's because I have like literally half of a megabit of upload, and I'm burning it all on my video and my stream. So
he's using T-Mobile home internet. He moved, so
moved
he lives in Michigan, and there's not a lot of great opportunities for him to get decent home internet right now, unfortunately. Although really that might change if he gets that 10 gig fiber line.
I would really like to create I'm really like looking hard into how do I want to run a WISP, like create a new wireless ISP for folks in my position who need internet. So I was looking at 60 gigahertz links, even like there's 3/4 of a mile up the road. And I'm like, well, can I just go lease like a little corner of somebody's backyard, put a tower back there, and 60 gigahertz over to me? Like that's probably the actual midlife crisis is the largest, most convoluted way that I can beam internet from somewhere else. I was looking at the Ubiquiti ones. We got some that are like 2 or 3 gigabit now. So anyway,
wow.
Okay, so new ADFS activity sample request. What do we need to give this thing? We give it identifier. Okay. Do we take the thing that we had before? Don't we need that token for something? Like the token that we just need that for something? I don't know. Let's see. Let's try this, I guess. And the identifier here will be URN URN Federation Microsoft Online. Okay. Federation Microsoft Online. Okay, so then what do we do? Now that we've got this, we've got our request, how do we pump this? Where are we sending this data? Oh, the sign in. And is what generates a log because I'm signing in, right? That's the key. The sign in is what generates the log, the get ADFS activity token. So then it's like, okay, people, I need PowerShell help. Who here knows how to write PowerShell like better than me? I get that that's a low bar.
I know how to copy and paste some good PowerShell and make some stuff happen. So what are you trying to do exactly?
I want to run this like 1,000 times.
Oh
I can't run it on this machine. Over here on the, let me go back to the machine. I got to run it on that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. So how do you do a for in PowerShell? See you, Bolt. We're gonna have to go.
It's just a standard for. It's just a standard for each, right? For each or for or.
Well, I'm gonna do a for because we're gonna basically say do this 1,000 times or hundreds or whatever.
Got it.
How do we do a for? So for. Okay. So for I equals 0. I mean, this is how we do it in C, right? I plus I then 1,000. I want you to do the thing I just asked you to do, which was that. Oops. Oh no, I lost it. Okay. This is also extremely slow. I guess because it has to upload I think it's because it has to upload my keystrokes, and my keystrokes apparently are killing my upstream bandwidth. Like, how dare you try to share your video and type into a remote machine all at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, so for I equals 0, I plus plus, I less than 1,000. I want to do this. Can I wrap this command in like as a variable and say like, hey.
Yeah, you can.
There we go. Okay, let's try that. No, okay. Okay, so it doesn't like that. Oh, because the conditions probably are not. Okay, here we go. For I equals 0, I less LT. Okay. So the first condition you have to looks like you have to wrap it in a. You have to wrap it in a here, and then it's ILT 1,000. Oh, and it's $1, right? Man, stuff is weird. Oh, is it going? Oh, doing something.
It's doing something. Watch, you'll get the red text of death, and then it won't work.
All right. Okay. Oh, doing something. Let's see. I mean, it sent something. All right. And what I need to do now is go harvest a bunch of credentials for my other users, and then we can set up like a really big, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. I probably should have looked at this in the first place, but yeah. Okay, so while that's cranking, let's go back over to the portal because it has been a little while, and let's see what we're looking at in terms of what we've got in Connect Health. You do not need conditional if you're not using I as a parameter. I believe you, but I don't believe. I believe you are correct, but I'm gonna, I don't claim any sort of any sort of PowerShell prowess. So, okay, so let's go look at our services. So we've got 2 active alerts, which means one of them may have fallen off, which is good. Let's see what those are. Being disabled, that has been sorted out, which is great. Windows Transport, we know that in DNS, and we can go. I will fix those separately. Nobody needs to watch me fix those. Okay, now we're getting 9 requests per day, so that's 5 application requests a day. 1 user is typing in bad passwords, which is awesome. Cool. So now we see, now we're starting to see that. So we're making trust requests, and we're using this federation, this URN Federation Microsoft Online, so we can start to see what kind of usage we're getting on, which is super cool. I like to see that. What I might do is just set this thing up and just let it run like all afternoon. See how it's going. This is the Entra portal. Similar, pick a name that was universally pronounced the same way. So I've heard Entra, I've heard Intra, all sorts of different things. Years ago, I remember somebody once said they referred to Azure as Azure.
I always like the Azure, like this.
One.
Yeah, I like the Azure. Yeah, the soup du jour, Azure. That was always my counterparts in the UK or other parts of the world.
Yeah, I just don't think I like that. So anyway, so it's cool. So we're getting some data here, which is great. So now we're going to be able to keep an eye on our CR. We'll see what's cranking in here. We'll see what's going on. And of course, we can see your sync health and things too. But your ADFS health is what we're really interested in because now we're going to be able to see, we're just going to start to be able to see app usage. So anyway, we'll put some links out for this ADFS, for Marcus's ADFS activity tool, which I think is super, super, super cool. We'll get this up here. Everybody can go grab that. And for now, I think we're gonna have to bolt. No pun intended. You love the name. What do you mean? What name? Oh, you mean?
Oh, the Entra name. Yeah, and I think I talked about this earlier, but I don't know if you had joined. This the idea that we needed something that sort of bridged between Azure Active Directory, permissions management, and verified ID. So,
makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it does.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say it does. It's just, I guess it's like everything, right? Everything became Defender, Windows Defender, Azure Defender, or whatever the cloud. The Defender rebrand still screws me up. So I guess it's and then Azure Monitor rebranded. It was no longer log analytics set underneath it. So I guess it made sense that we had to do a rebranding in the identity division to keep up with other divisions at Microsoft, right?
That's true. I mean, you can't leave well enough. Now, granted, Azure AD was kind of a weird name. Neither Azure nor AD, right?
Yeah, exactly.
None of these, so,
So the last thing we gotta do, because we're gonna do this early next week, is we're gonna build a really simple, quick and dirty app that any of you can go to say, hey, here's my username, or here's just my domain. I don't have to be a username. And you can type it in and just say, hey, am I using ADFS or not? So I would love to hear this, Daniel. I'd love to hear how it was named. I will
is that
around
Daniel?
to figure out because
Hi, Daniel. I didn't know who Dom3L was, so.
So I guess so. The first thing I was thinking is maybe we could do like ADFS.me, like ADFS me bro kind of thing, like Andy from The Office. So you could do ADFS.me, like me, and it would be like because we're gonna have query parameters to be like question marks, and be like ADFS me question mark bam, whatever. So there's that one. Or we could just be like, or it's something more verbose like, am I using ADFS? Please tell me that's not taken. There's no way that's taken. Okay, but that doesn't. This for whatever reason I read this as Samsung. I don't know why. When I see this word, it doesn't. So my vote is for ADFS.me. What's your vote, Shannon? You got any alternative?
I say ADFS.me. No, I like ADFS.me. You should do it. But the question is, can you buy another domain, or is it going to be acceptable in your home? I don't want to cause any fights. You did just move multiple states away. As $11.
Like what? What?
Yeah.
Happened?
Yeah. Did you just buy another domain? Like her ears are turning red right now because she knows you're getting ready to buy another domain.
No, there's like smoke that comes somewhere. Like we just elected a new pope. All right, let's see if it works. Oh, I'm getting a little nervous. It's ever taken to make a purchase. Oh no, there it is. Cool. Okay, so ADFS.me is now ours, which is and it's only $11, which is great. So I guess then that means there it is. So here it is, and so cool. So so next show do Tuesday next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Next show we're gonna ADFS.me, which is just gonna be a super simple tool for you to figure out if you've got ADFS or not.
Just wait. Look, no. Look, domain buying, is that a family wrecking addiction? It depends upon the family, I think, right?
Well, it depends on the family, but here's the thing: purchasing anything, I think, at scale is a family wrecking, right? Like you can purchase. You can purchase, basketballs at huge volume. I imagine spouses or family members would say, like, I just don't know why he buys so many. We'd have to have an intervention or something. And that one guy from intervention would be there, like, well, look,
you're buying too many domains.
There's just people here that love you. And
could you, what would be the recommended pattern of quelling the addiction? Would you have to go away for like 6 weeks and not have internet? Maybe that's what it is.
I'll tell you what. I mean, it's possible. It's like you don't get stupid ideas and do stupid websites on the internet. That's how you do it. This could have been a subdomain. Like maybe that's the next domain we should buy. This domain could have been a subdomain.com, right? Or whatever, right? Because this meeting could have been an email, sort of the same thing. This could have been a subdomain of ADFS.lol, really, but ADFS.me is easy to remember, and I think it's
catchy. It's catchy, and you're gonna get some traction as a result.
So anyway, so come back on let's do Tuesday. I don't think Monday's gonna work. Let's do Tuesday. Although I don't really know what's going on Tuesday either. I should probably look at my calendar before I commit to anything. But
it keeps up. It keeps up with the calendar of old. I think that works for us. I think that works for us.
And maybe we'll go over to the other. We'll go over to Microsoft Developer on Tuesday too, and that way all sorts of friends can help us build our silly little. It's not silly because it's going to solve a real problem, which is determining why you use ADFS. You can tell your admins, hey, these two people at Microsoft told me we should stop doing this.
Yeah, right.
We're going to make part of the app will be an email. campaign that says, tell your admins you want off ADFS, you want passwordless. We could do like a Better Call Saul kind of a thing, like
we should.
Very patriotic, and we'll get like I can get like a big hat and a beard and very Uncle Sam-esque. So I think it'd be kind of fun, actually.
Or you could just repurpose your wizard cap too. Either or, I think works, right?
The problem is I don't know where the wizard cap is.
Oh yeah, that's true. You did just
box.
move. You did just move.
So I need my Social Security card to get my driver's license, right? To switch my driver's license. Yeah. And I know exactly it's in the sleeve where my grid is, which is in a drawer that was on my basement at my old house. Now, all that was put into boxes by other people and brought up here in trucks. So I went downstairs and there were 40 wardrobe boxes up in the basement of all the stuff in our basement. And so I thought, I'll just have to work through these. I got to unpack them anyway. Well, box number 39 is where my Social Security card was.
Oh.
So that was, okay. And my fingers, I think, like, they are like, it's almost like they're chafed from cardboard.
I'm sure.
And allergic to cardboard splinters, which I'm not a fan of.
And cardboard cuts. I think those are probably the worst. They're way worse than a paper cut. Way worse.
Yeah, a cardboard paper cut is no longer a cut. It's a laceration at that point. Like, you might need some stitches if it's some heavy cardboard.
Yeah, right. It's brutal every time I move, and that's why I said whenever I move out of here, I'm paying the extra premium for people to come. And I used to have a MacBook Pro.
No, you don't.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That I think is a really good one to end it on, possibly, because I think we're kind of at the tail end of what we were planning on talking about today. So
net result, you want to turn off your ADFSs. If you don't this or you don't know but you use it, or if you want to turn it on, you want advice, help, guidance on how to do that. We have a ton of it. We're going to start posting it. Be a lot more content sort of in that way. We got lots of new resources that are all going to be coming online in the next few weeks. We're talking about wizards and all sorts of different places that are making it easy for you to do this. Different migration UIs, all sorts of really cool, fun stuff to make this simple. And of course, you can always find me Enchanted on Twitter and Reddit and all sorts of other places. You can join our Discord, which everyone should absolutely do. We have joined our Discord somewhere. Here it is. You should join the Discord where lots of people go and hang, where all those killers hang. And we'll be back on Tuesday.
Let's do it.
Where you can all help us build a thing. Please don't tell me this makes my insides hurt. So, sorry. Oh, we got to go raid somebody. Sorry. What am I thinking? Where are we?
Go raid.
Who are we going to go? Who are we raid? Should we go Fritz? Should we go developer? Code Rush.
Fritz. Do Fritz.
Let's go to Fritz. We haven't been to Fritz in a while, so let's go see what he's. Let's go see what he's up. We're gonna be ready to raid in 10 seconds. So everybody, let's go over to Mr. Fritz and have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, and we will see you all
next week.
We'll see you all next week. Cool.
Woo!
See you, everybody.